Well, hey everybody, it's Pastor Andrew here. I hope you're doing well and that you're staying safe. Before I get into the devotional thought that I have for us today, I want to just let you know that there aren't any specific plans as of me recording this yet. We are in the talks of looking at different options for us moving forward as a church. But just know that we are working. There's a lot of stuff happening in the background. To kind of keep us moving, keep moving forward, and being able to connect. So just know that we care about you and that we're working hard. No, I'm not sitting here playing with Legos every day as much as I'd like to. But I want to kind of, for this week's devotional thought, I wanted to talk about the importance of people. The people in our lives. One of the things that I have probably mentioned many times in this video is being able to be together. That I miss our opportunities to be together at youth group, at Sunday school, at big church, and I am looking forward to the time that we are able to do those things again, where we're able to be together in person and connect with one another. And God has really placed it on my heart this last week and a half or so, maybe a little bit longer, and reminded me of the importance of the people in my life that He's placed there for a reason. And I can look back, and there's many people in my life who've helped me to become the person that I am, and that have invested in me and have been there for me. And hopefully you can do the same, that you are able to look back and see the people that are in your family, that are your friends, different people who you know are always there for you, and that have helped to shape and mold you into the person that you are today. But the reason this kind of came up is just I'll be honest, the last week and a half, maybe two, maybe a little bit longer, has just I've kind of hit a rough patch, just personally. Just kind of really down on myself about different aspects, just really not in a really good spot. That's not what I want to get into, but God knew what I was going through, knew kind of the circumstance that I was in, and reminded me of this because of the people that I was able to connect with over this time. I had two really good conversations last week. Both people that I really care about, and both came up just very natural ways. This wasn't like it was a forced kind of thing or anything. It was just great conversations that I had with really great people. One of those conversations was with a buddy of mine that we talked on the phone for over an hour and a half one night, and it was just great. For us to connect to the various conversations and the various topics that we talked about during that time. It was really good. We went really deep about different things, about Jesus and the parables and church, and then we talked about memes and the history of memes and different things like that. And it was really fun. And it was one of those phone calls that when I hung up the phone, I just felt, oh, you know what? I really needed that. It was really good. And and the other conversation that I had was with somebody that I really care about, that I really look up to, that is a really great person in my life. And just as a reminder of what I'm supposed to be doing, who I'm supposed to be, and just the ups and downs of life, and just being okay with that. And it was really good just to be able to have those kind of connections and those people that are in my life. So maybe really think about that. And I wanted just to share that with you guys. As we are distant, as we are not being able to connect with the people that we see all the time, or have those opportunities to reach out to and connect with that we normally would before all of this happened. We might feel more isolated. We might feel more closed off. We might feel distant from those people because we're not able to connect in that way that we need to. Or we feel like that we kind of just look inward a little bit more and kind of shut ourselves off. And that may be that I'm speaking to that about myself a little bit more, and maybe you may not be feeling that, but I'm just kind of generalizing. But just the real idea that I want to hit on is the importance of people in our lives and why God has placed them there. And the story that I came back to that God was kind of working through and reminding me of was that of David and Nathan. If you know the story of David and Nathan, Nathan was a prophet while David was the king of Israel. And they had a close relationship. They were very good friends, and they cared about one another. But Nathan had the dangerous responsibility by being God's chosen prophet to speak through him, was to call David out for one of his big mess-ups when he had his affair with Bathsheba and killed her husband so that he could be with Bathsheba. You probably know that story. You may not be more familiar with the second story that happens right after. But this whole story kind of happens in 2 Samuel chapter 11 and in chapter 12. The background story of David's adultery with Bathsheba happens in chapter 11. And then this whole interaction that I want to talk about happens in chapter 12 between David and Nathan. Nathan, like I said, goes to David, and he starts off by telling David this quick story of, and kind of gets him ready to kind of baits him a little bit with this story of an interaction where David has to pick who is at fault in this story. And I'll let you read it. You may have heard it before. But he uses that story to point out to David that you're actually doing the same thing. You're as guilty as this hypothetical person. And it helps David realize that he has sinned. And he says that he has sinned before God and before man. And that that there is punishment to that sin. And you can read on and you can see what happens with David, and it destroys him and makes him, there's a lot of Psalms that talk about this specific instance where David is wrestling with what has happened and why he's allowed this to happen. But really when I hit on, and that's why I'm not reading this, is so that you can read it for yourself and but I want to help us to see the importance of having godly people in our lives. One is to keep us accountable. If you see through David's story, the one big aspect of before when this happens is that David does a lot of this in secret, that he sends people secretly to go and take care of these things, is that he tries to hide and cover up so many aspects of what he has done so that he doesn't get in trouble and that people still see him as this good person, this good godly leader and king. But Nathan is able to see through that and calls him out on it. And one of the big issues of why we shouldn't be and really can't be living life on our own, of just living of kind of like this kind of like persons like shut off from the rest of the world, is because of our own selves, that we know our own hearts, and we know that we can fall into sin. And the more that we continually to not talk to other people and let people know what's going on inside of our hearts, the more and easier it is for us to hide those sins, to hide those sin issues, and continually push ourselves away from God and our relationship with Him. It's not until we expose those things in the dark to the glorious light of God and who He is, by telling other people what we're struggling with, or how we're coping with different things, and having those people check in on us when we do fall, of just pointing out to us, hey, I noticed that you're kind of lashing out, or I've noticed this change in you, or I see what you're posting, or just kind of not even when it's negative things, of just saying, hey, how are you doing with your walk with God? What have you been learning from Him? How are you staying in His Word? How are you keeping up with praying with Him, spending time in prayer with Him? Those kind of things. Those are important. I have those people in my life who I'm praying for, who I have asked to keep me accountable in different areas. One of the things I can't share right now, because it's under my laptop that I'm recording on this, but I have a sticky note with a buddy of mine who's actually going to be the best man in my wedding, where since I'm sitting here at my desk every day, or most days, I have his name on it in different ways that he has asked me to specifically be praying for him, not only as a pastor, but as a father and a husband, and being able to reach out in his community, those different things. And every time I look down at my calendar that I have that sticky note stuck on, I look at it and say, remind myself if I've prayed for these things throughout the day, if I've made that effort to do that, and then text him and just kind of check in on those different areas and those things. So just having people in your life that you are vulnerable with, that know the different areas where you see yourself struggling or where you need help, and keeping up with you, of reminding you of who of those things and how you can be growing in your walk with Jesus. And the great thing is that this isn't just in this story that Nathan and David are close. It's not just a random person that comes to him with this. It's someone who genuinely cares about David and who he is as a person. So finding that person in your life who you are close with, who genuinely cares about you, because if someone does care about you and you care about them, you should hope, and they should hope, that you grow and that they grow in their relationship with God as they grow together, and as you grow. But the important thing is that, and in that regard, that this is not someone that this is a one-time kind of deal. This isn't that they lived life alongside one another, that they were in connection with one another all the time, that they were friends. So doing this continuously, of reaching out to other people, just saying, how are you doing in this area? And having people check in with you is really important. One of the big other ideas that reminded me of this, and kind of the ideas, was that Jesus had his disciples, and Jesus was God and is God. And there's a specific reason why he had disciples, where he had these close friends during his time here on earth and in his ministry. And that was to teach them. He could have easily done everything that he did on his own, but he specifically took out 12 individuals and poured into them and invested in them for three plus years. And they lived life alongside of him, saw him do great miracles, saw him interact with people each and every day. And the importance of that is we should follow in Jesus' footsteps and have people in our lives where not only when we are messing up, or we see them messing up, or we're striving to see each other grow more, that we can be together, then we can lean on one another, but that we should be living life in community, that we should have all these people in our lives to not only call us out on these things, but to live life with one another, of being able to celebrate those good times, of being able to mourn and feel bad when we need to, of dealing with those emotions. So just having those connections with people, having good people in your lives is what I want to encourage you guys with this week, of finding people who you can keep one another accountable. You might have heard that term thrown around in church before, of having accountability partners. I think it's really important to have somebody, whether you label it that or not, somebody really important who you care about and that care about you, of checking in, that you can have real conversations with, and that you can challenge to each other to grow. So if you have that person in your life, that's great. Continually work on that. Maybe sit down with them, or text, call, Zoom, whatever you need to do, of looking at how this time in quarantine has been for you, and what you've learned, how you can grow, and as we slowly possibly move out of this, what things you can be doing, and what goals you can be setting in the future. Or if you don't have that at all, of finding that person, of reaching out and saying, hey, I want to be able to grow, and I care about you enough that I want you to grow as well. So let's do this together. And it can be simple things of working on being healthier together, of saying, fall sports are coming, hopefully, and we want to get in shape for that. So let's go on walks, or let's go work out together, or just saying, hey, I want to read through this book of the Bible during this time, or I want to be in God's Word for these amount of days. Can you check in with me? Can you send me a Snapchat or send me a text or whatever once a day to remind me that I should be doing that, and I'll be doing the same for you. Or it might be, and it might be different issues or different things coming up forward, of just different things, just saying, hey, I want to get rid of this in my life. Can you help me? Of having people and having that person being able to keep you accountable on those things. But that's what I got for us this week. People are important. Jesus wouldn't have had his group of disciples if it wasn't important for him to make those deep connections with people. And sometimes we need to step out of our comfort zone and call out those people that we care about, and receive those calls and those things when they call us out. But that's what I got for us this week. Hope everybody's doing well. See you guys.